everybody, and welcome to episode 517 of Good Luck High Five.
That's right. You're listening to a podcast that's for you if you play Magic the Gathering. Whether you are playing it or you are not playing it because it's the holidays, or you are playing it more because it's the holidays.
Yeah, it could be either one.
We are here for you.
I'm one of your hosts, Maria.
I'm another one of your hosts, Megan.
And on today's episode, it's our Good Luck High Five year in review.
That's right. We're going to talk about the sets that came out this year, the big ones, the less big ones, how we felt about them.
Yes.
The big feelings, the less big feelings that we had.
We're going to talk through the mechanics, the new and returning mechanics, our most memorable cards from the sets, and basically give you our thoughts on, what was 2022 when it comes to Magic.
What was it? Plus, we have Judge Rob back for a very special Judge Rob segment.
Yes, he's going to talk to us about the most confusing cards for judges in 2022.
And you know what? There was a lot of text on these cards.
Oh, there's a lot of text this year for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So we're going to take a walk down memory lane, and we hope you'll come along with us as we stroll through the lilacs. That's just what I'm imagining. We're walking memory lane, by the way, in my head.
Okay, keep going.
Let's get a view of it. It's a long lane. That's like, there's lilac, like arch.
I'm
the whole
sorry.
way.
There are what?
Lilac, like a lilac bush.
Why are you saying it like lilac?
Lilac, like a lilac.
What is happening?
How do you say it?
Lilacs.
Oh, yeah, lilacs. Sure. And it's just like a canopy. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's what memory lane looks like in my
that's very
brain.
nice.
What does your memory lane look like?
Oh, wow. Okay, my memory lane is like a twisty little path through like a glowing green forest.
Yeah, you see, it's very forest vibes on memory lane.
All right, so walk with us through the forest.
Yes, indeed.
But before we do that, we have some people to thank. And first and foremost amongst them are, of course, always you, the patrons of this show. Everyone who is a patron over at patreon.com/GLHF Magic. And thank you especially to Elspeth, Zach, William, Brent, and Shane for becoming new or upping pledges in this past week. Thank you so much. Remember to go over to the Discord and claim a part of the episode for yourself.
Yeah, you can become a patron before the end of the year at patreon.com/GLHF Magic. Just takes a minute. You get access to our Discord server. And like we've been saying, it's our Patreon pledge drive month.
Yes.
So if you pledge $10 more as a new patron, or you increase your pledge by $5.
I keep opening it up upside down. You get
this upside down playmat.
This upside down playmat, you can turn it right side up yourself.
Yeah, you have that power.
It's really, really great. And you get an episode when we come back after the holidays. You'll get an episode that is yours. Last week, someone claimed specifically the part where children like Meatloaf said 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Great
Which was
claim.
one of my favorite parts of the episode.
Claim.
Really good claim on the episode.
Yeah, we're pre-recording our next episode, which is our famous Crimby Award episode.
Yes.
So we won't have thank yous in that one, but they'll come back starting in January. So if you are a new patron then, you'll get your shout out. In episode 219.
219. Who are we? Some children?
519. Some children with 200 episodes of a podcast.
Some absolute kids. Anyways, thank you so much. It truly does mean the world to us, especially now at the end of the year. It's cold here. It's dark.
Yeah.
It's dark so much of the day, everybody. It gets dark so early.
Yeah, so become our friends.
Yeah. Thank you as well to our sponsor, Card Kingdom, cardkingdom.com/GLHF, the place to go for all of your card needs.
Were you aware you can now pre-order Dominaria Remastered at Card Kingdom?
Wow, it's not even out until January, but you can pre-order it already.
You can pre-order it over on their website. They've got fabulous holiday sales. Every day is a different sale. They've got gift lists for players in your life if you're one of those last-minute people.
Yeah.
Card Kingdom has you covered. They sell absolutely everything.
Everything.
I'm always a big proponent of get somebody a shiny foil for one of their favorite decks.
Yeah.
I think that's a cool present.
Get him one of the cool, like there's so many different arts now, so many art variants.
Oh, that's
Get him
so
a great
true.
art variant.
That's so true. And I love shiny foil arts, everybody.
So if you have a Maria in your life, get them a shiny art variant from Card Kingdom.
Cardkingdom.com/GLHF.
Maria.
Okay. Yes.
What a year.
What a year.
Yeah.
2022.
What are you drinking? It's not a highball. I am flummoxed.
I know.
Am I even in our studio?
Well, my highball delivery was delayed.
Gasp.
I know. Too many people are getting too many presents. So instead, I'm supplementing it with a nice orange flavored zero sugar Zoa, the healthy warrior energy drink.
Oh. Do you feel like a warrior?
I mean, I sure do when I drink this.
Nice.
It has 120 milligrams of caffeine, so not as much as my highball.
Yeah.
Let's get real. But it's a delight.
All right.
I love it.
Well, there you go.
So
what
sponsor us, though.
Upside down world that I'm living in here.
I know. I need my highballs, but this will tide me over for the time being.
All right. So we kicked off this year with, can you believe it, Kamigawa Neon Dynasty.
No.
It feels like one lifetime ago.
That was a
Honestly,
lifetime
it
ago.
feels like so long ago. But it came out.
But it was this
February 18th.
year.
This year. So yeah, Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. Oh, like a set that people, I think, reasonably had some trepidation about going into it.
Oh, yeah.
But was, I would say, the highlight of Magic's year.
Yes.
Which is really saying something considering how much later it is in the year now. But like, Kamigawa was just, like, Neon Dynasty was so good. Like, all of the stuff that they created around it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the playlists, the story, like, the, the trailers around it. All so incredible. And then the draft itself, like the gameplay of Neon Dynasty, was just excellent.
Yeah, when I look back on 2022, there's gonna be two things I'm gonna remember from Magic. Kamigawa Neon Dynasty.
Yep.
And then returning to in-person play.
Yes.
Those two things.
Those are like the two things. Like considering one of those was a set that came out in February.
Yeah.
Really says something.
It was a home run for them. People had been wanting to go back to Kamigawa for forever.
Yes.
And Wizards had been very trepidatious, like you said, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
They hired a cultural consultant for it, and they did it right.
Yeah.
They knocked it out of the park.
Really cool. Like the art on it, some really amazing art. And again, the draft environment, just so fun. So let's talk about some of the mechanics.
Yes.
Ninjutsu returned.
Oh,
and I think
Ninjutsu.
It was so good, in part because successfully ninjutsuing a creature felt good, but it also didn't feel too bad if it happened to you.
Correct.
Like it had
feel
a nice
horrible.
bonus, but it was not game breaking.
No, I was so happy to see it return.
Yeah.
And of course, it's
it was so much fun to, it was flavorful and it was a lot of fun to play with.
Love ninjutsu.
Yeah.
Big thumbs up on how that was implemented in Neon Dynasty.
Channel, love it.
Channel,
you know what?
Classic.
Gets a job done.
Gets the job
Gets
done.
a job done.
And is responsible for some cards now seeing play in a lot of formats.
Yeah.
Boseiju, who endures.
Yeah, very cool.
I mean, that card
That
is a
land.
house. It does everything.
It land, but also it destroy.
We also had the return of enchantment creatures,
Oh,
which we're big fans of on this show.
They're just so cute.
And shrines came back.
Oh, shrines. It was a cool shrine cycle too. That uncommon shrine cycle.
I liked it. By the end of the draft, I feel like people were like, I've drafted the shrine deck.
People are like, I did it, five color shrines.
And I did it.
I did it.
And I'm like,
it's very cool. If they did it, you're like, yeah, nice.
what a cool accomplishment to kind of sneak into your draft environment. I always love when they do that.
Very cool. And then the new mechanics, modified, which was just saying like, does a creature have something? Does it have something to it?
Does it have a counter on it?
Does it have a counter on it? It also counts as being modified if it has an equipment attached to it, right?
Equipment,
Yeah.
auras you control.
Yes.
Let's
auras you
remember
control.
that.
Yeah.
And counters are modifications.
Nice.
So if you don't remember modified, it was a kind of like a little weird mechanic. And there were cards that cared about modified, like Aki Emberkeeper. Do you remember this card?
Yeah.
The 2/1 for 1 and red. Whenever a non-token modified creature you control dies, make a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token.
Yeah. I would say like one of the less like hallmarky mechanics of the set.
Yeah.
Just because there wasn't really a deck that ever came together around that.
There's like a modified deck.
Yeah. And
I
even
agree.
drafting it, you wouldn't ever end up really drafting a modified deck a ton.
No, it was just like something that was incidental.
A
You're
nice
like,
bonus.
I have this modified thing.
Yeah, we had Reconfigure, which is a new way that equipment interact with things, which is pretty cool. They're creatures on their own, but also you can reconfigure them to become equipment.
Simeon Sling.
So cool.
Do you remember this equipment monkey?
Yeah.
One red for a 1/1. Equipped creature gets +1/+1. Whenever Simeon Sling or equipped creature becomes blocked, it deals 1 damage to defending player. Reconfigure cost of 2.
Again, like not showy, but you know what? Got a job done.
Not showy for sure, which is so interesting to us. We're talking here about Kamigawa being like the set of 2022, and we're talking about these mechanics, and we're like,
do you know what? They all just did good work.
it was a thing.
They all did good work. Nice job, everybody.
It was not splashy.
No.
The mechanics were not splashy in Neon Dynasty. And normally that's what we remember about the set is the splashy mechanic behind it that made it the set. But it was all the other things that made Kamigawa the set.
It was just like holistically really nice. And then of course we had what I would say is like one of the big takeaways were the sagas that transformed.
Yep, absolutely.
Which were so cool.
I loved these sagas.
These sagas were all great. And there were some really memorable. I'm memorabling.
Lilacs.
Yes. Lilacs. The Kami War.
Yeah.
So cool. But also Bosei, like the one that was Boseiju that got you lands.
Oh yeah. Excellent.
Oh, really cool.
The ones that turned into creatures, of course.
Yeah. The little the one that turned into a little 2/3 flyer.
Fable of the Mirror Breaker. I think we need to mention
one of the biggest cards of the year.
I mean, that card
in so many formats
changed so much
in so many formats. Yeah.
For me, Saga was not new in Kamigawa, but the fact that they changed it to transform into something else, or do something upon its transformation, I think that was a big takeaway mechanic.
Yeah. Very, very cool.
You know, and all it was a modification of an already existing mechanic.
Yeah. Of stuff. It was kind of like a merging of sagas and double-faced cards. Like, sloop. Slap them together.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, we already loved sagas. So like, I mean, but it is kind of surprising to say that is our big takeaway mechanic from a set. It's something that's not even technically
it's not even new. So I would say that and ninjas, right? And you're like, oh yeah, we've seen both of those before, but very cool stuff.
The art from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty was beyond.
Yeah.
The style, having it be like kind of neon 80s synthwave, A+.
Very cool. It looked great. All of like the city really came alive, right? Like the plane came alive.
It did.
It looked very cool. You had your rat gangs. Everyone loves a rat.
You had a rat in a jacket.
Had a rat in a jacket.
And a great looking
jacket. Your motorcycle riding, leather jacket wearing rat gang.
So for you, we've said like Kamigawa, home run.
Yes.
I think one of the biggest hits of Magic for many years.
For a while, yeah.
Was there any lowlights? Were there any misses in Kamigawa for you?
No.
No. This set rocked.
The end.
Thumbs up.
2 thumbs up. We had the Wandering Emperor return.
Yes.
That card was so freaking cool.
Like we didn't know who the Wanderer was for a long time.
Exactly.
We're like, who could this be?
I liked the story around the Wandering Emperor.
Yep.
I mean, Tamio getting completed was a real bummer.
Yeah.
But that, like, you can't count that as a low light because I feel like it incorporated a really important story element.
I'm even trying to think of one and I can't.
It was great.
I loved the cool thing they did with the chase cards in the pack, where they had Hidetsugu, the various like neon ink versions that you could open. I thought that was really neat.
Yeah, those were all very cool.
I never opened one.
Me neither.
But
it's okay.
I think that was a cool idea.
Yeah.
To have something like that. Like, ooh, I could open a Tarmogoyf.
Oh, remember the full art lands?
The full art lands. Beautiful.
Some like real bangers and a string of real bangers.
I mean, full art land bangers have been almost nonstop this year.
Yeah,
but these ones were the banger to begin all bangers of 2022.
Yep. They were really, really amazing.
Gosh, I'm trying to think of like, were they my favorite lands of the year?
They were pretty incredible.
I think they might be.
Mine were probably the Spacek lands.
Oh, never mind.
Because
it
they
was
were
the Spacek
so
lands. Never mind.
But these ones were also really excellent.
Yeah.
All right, Maria. Next up, we had Streets of New Capenna.
Yep.
That came out on April 29th. That one does feel like this year, weirdly.
Yeah, I suppose so.
It was only 2 months later, but it feels like this year.
This one is a 2022 set.
Exactly. We had Hideaway return. That was just very lightly there.
Yeah.
Cycling.
We always love it.
Love us cycling.
And cycling this time is now considered deciduous.
Yeah.
Which is not evergreen. Those are two words we use to mean evergreen is just like that exists.
It'll
we
be
see it
all
all
the
the
time.
time.
Yeah.
Deciduous is like, oh, it'll come back here and there and just be a thing.
Thank goodness.
Yeah,
Always could use
agree.
more cycling. And then we had, so one of the things that I liked for this was that each of the 5 factions had their own mechanic.
Yeah.
That was cool. We had Connive for the Obscura, Casualty for the Maestros, Blitz for the Riveteers, Alliance for the Cabaretti, and Shield Counters for the Brokers.
Yeah, so the most new mechanics of any set by a country mile.
So many new
here
mechanics.
in New Capenna.
Yes.
Let's talk about New Capenna, like just overall quick. So we had 1920s Gangsterland with the 5 families that you just mentioned.
Yes.
Kind of an Art Deco aesthetic.
Very cool art.
I agree.
This set, like the standouts from this set for me were all of the cool card names.
Yes.
We got a lot of great card names
We
from
really
this.
did. We did.
Civil Servant. It was like just so good. Lots of other great ones.
Ledger Shredder, one of my favorite card names of the year.
Yes.
You Are Already Dead.
Mr. Orfeo the Boulder.
Yeah, excellent.
Great
flavor
stuff,
flavor
right?
card names.
Very, very fun. But like, I think the thing that stands out from New Capenna, unfortunately, was remembering that the draft experience didn't have any three color was not really what you wanted to do, even though it was supposed to be a 3-color set.
Yeah, so New Capenna was kind of based around Khans of Tarkir, one of the ultimate 3-color sets of our lifetime.
Yeah.
Which is one of the greatest, most fun draft memories that we all have.
Oh,
but it
so
just
good.
Couldn't live up to it because we had a lot of problems with the fact that 2-color decks were just quite simply stronger than the 3-color decks that they were pushing in this archetype. So they were trying to make 3-color decks happen. They were trying to make fetch happen, but it just wasn't happening.
Yeah.
Because Inspiring Overseer was a card that existed.
Inspiring Overseer.
2/1 flyer, gain you life, draw a card in white. We just didn't have enough payoffs for drafting 3-color. There was not enough reward.
The format was too fast.
And it just wasn't,
you didn't
get
have
there.
the time.
You didn't have the time to set up and do your cool stuff.
Yeah.
Which it was cool, right? These mechanics that we're talking about, we liked the fact that there was one for each family.
Yes, exactly. It should have been so cool.
And the fact that they kind of felt so flavorful. Like Casualty for the Maestros. You had to sacrifice your creatures to get a benefit.
Great.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Blitz for the Riveteers. That
Very
felt
cool.
very Riveteers.
Yes. The Alliance for the Cabaretti, like all of your little creatures entering the battlefield, giving you benefits. It was cool. Like, I loved Connive for the Obscura.
Connive was really, really, really strong.
Yes, obviously one of the strongest mechanics.
Yeah.
We see it on lots of cards now that are getting play in eternal formats, like Ledger Shredder.
Ledger Shredder.
Just very, very good. Yeah.
So the takeaway, just a little sad that we couldn't have the 3-color draft that we dreamed of.
We did really enjoy the story from this one, though.
Yes.
Remember? Loved
story.
Xander, the head of the Maestros.
Oh, Xander was great.
He was a very cool vamp.
We loved him.
Oh, he was really cool.
He died.
He died.
He got killed by
Obnixilis. Yes.
Elspeth was there.
Yeah, Elspeth helped rescue Giada, who became an angel.
Who is being milked for her halo on the regular. Which we know
that's not it.
Tastes like horchata. That's been established.
Tastes like horchata.
But also we learned that there is something to do with Halo and how the Phyrexians had come and had...
Oh, that's right. Yes, the Phyrexians hadn't been able to take over old Capenna.
Right.
Or they had taken it over, but they'd been defeated with Halo in some way.
And then New Capenna had been built on top of it. So we're guessing that Halo, they're allergic to Halo.
Yes,
they're allergic to Angel Milk.
Are allergic.
It makes sense
to Halo.
because they're kind of like
Angel Sweat. My vodka. Give it a try.
Try it out this holiday season. Angel Sweat on sale anywhere you find
bad vodka.
You know those places in town. Someone's like, I need some bad vodka. You're like, I know where to send you.
All right, Maria.
Yes.
That brings us to Dominaria United, which came out September 9th.
So when Dominaria United was announced, I was super excited for it.
Yeah.
I think I was probably like, this is my most excited set for the year, even through the fact that Neon Dynasty had been announced and all that kind of stuff. And I was excited also for New Capenna, New Plane, all that kind of stuff. But I was most excited because I loved original Dominaria so much.
Dominaria was so much fun.
But I gotta say, a little disappointed.
Yeah, this one did not quite live up to it. Despite having Domain as one of the returning mechanics, once again, 5-color decks were not the strongest place to be.
Yeah.
Or many color decks. It was a pretty linear format.
It sure was.
It wanted you to be aggro.
Yeah. Which is too bad because drafting Domain is super fun.
Yeah.
And there were good cards to play, you know.
Absolutely. It did have some cool things to do. You could play Tolarian Terrors all day.
Yeah.
Good times.
But then you're like, oh, I would draft a cool Domain deck. And you're like, well, I just played this Tolarian Terror on 3. So
a Tolarian Terror, so good luck. Kicker
Nice
came
4/6.
back. Another great returning mechanic, obviously. Enlist, read ahead, and stun counters were our new mechanics.
all 3 of those, just like, okay.
Yeah. I think Enlist was one of the more successful attacking creatures get counter things.
Yeah.
Of that brand of mechanic. There's a lot of brands of mechanics that are in some way attacking creatures get counters. And I do think that Enlist was one of the more successful versions of that.
Read ahead was kind of neat. It's a neat thing to add to sagas, but it wasn't memorable.
Yeah, exactly. It didn't make a big splash. And stun counters are just kind of like, again, we'll keep seeing that.
Yeah.
It's like icing things down, which I do like. I like that change to things don't untap during their untap step.
I like giving it
the counters.
Exactly. Name. It's also more visually able to be represented.
Yeah.
Especially on Arena.
And it gives that mechanic more flexibility. It can do it for 2 turns, 3 turns, however many turns, instead of just the one that it did previously.
And I think it makes sense that Dominaria United was a little bit underwhelming when I look at what else happened this year.
Yeah.
There was so much more, bang for your buck sets.
Yeah.
I think that Dominaria United probably got backburnered just slightly.
Yeah, it does feel that way a little bit.
Than the other
But once again, we loved the story for it.
Yep.
Give us all the Karn being sad.
Karn.
We love Karn. Karn, the most human, honestly. One of the most human main characters of these stories.
Yeah.
Which I feel like was intentional. Like the writer, it felt like tried very hard, and it was very successful to make him feel very human.
Yeah. Great job.
Exactly. I loved him a lot.
And finally, we come to the Brothers War.
Yes.
So the Brothers War, highly anticipated.
Yeah.
Set. I remember when we announced it at the end of 2021 or whenever. And I was like, oh, the Brothers War is going to be a thing, capital T, because it's a big love letter to players who've been playing the game for a long time.
Yeah.
And remember these characters.
I will say, one pro for this set is it does feel very different from all the other sets that came out this year.
Yes.
It feels massively different.
It feels hardcore Magic.
Yes.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it feels very hardcore.
Like 90s Magic?
Yeah.
That's the vibe.
Like there's big robot boys.
Yeah. Stomping around.
There's big robot boys stomping around.
There's Urza and Mishra.
Exactly. There's a lot of iconic characters.
Karn, of course.
Exactly. Hercule. We finally meet Hercule.
Hercule. Sorry about your name.
Yeah.
But I guess good.
It is what it is.
Have fun with that recall.
Yeah. The returning mechanics were Unearth. Also, an iconic Magic mechanic. And Meld, which we have not seen since Spooky Moon.
Love Meld.
Meld is very cool.
Just because it's so epic when it happens.
Yes. It's giant. And you get this giant card.
It makes a huge game moment.
Yeah.
I've not melded in this set.
Me neither.
Kind of sad about that now that I say it.
And then we had Prototype and Power Stones. Prototype is a very cool mechanic. I do
like
enjoy
Prototype a lot.
Yeah. As Judge Rob, I think, pointed out back when we talked about it, is a little modal double face card.
Yes.
But do you know what? Okay.
I'm going to give Prototype my other favorite mechanic after the sagas that are transforming double face cards.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool mechanic.
So that's my other fave.
Yeah. And then Power Stones, they're there.
Sure, they're a thing.
They
Supplemental.
Exist. But I was saying earlier today, so initially I didn't like drafting this set.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe it's just because you're losing a lot. You're having a hard time with it. Maybe that's impacting your enjoyment. But do you know what, Maria?
What?
I'm good at this set now, and I still don't like it. I still
What's your
don't
problem?
have a good time. I don't know. I like winning.
Yeah,
I like winning,
sure.
but do you know what? It's just not, this set is not, as much as this set feels different from other Magic sets this year, the games have a hard time differentiating themselves to me.
I see what you're saying.
Feel the same.
And I see everybody on Twitter being like, oh, I love drafting this set.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
So different experiences, you know.
Every game feels the same to me. And I feel like I've mostly ended up being very successful drafting like very low to the ground, like aggro creature decks.
Red.
Because it's like the thing that keeps the game from being decided by who draws more spells or who draws their bomb.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, okay, you can just be super proactive and try and aggro them out before either of those things super comes into play. Or you're going to end up playing these games where it feels like the fate of the game is a little bit like a, you know, the whim
The bombs are pretty good.
The bombs or
there's
the
one
draws.
coil engine you can have in this set.
Yeah.
I will say I think it's very cool that we got to see some old artifacts return here in the Brothers War, like Wurmcoil engine that I just mentioned, because you do get some stuff happening in games, which is kind of random. It adds a random element
for
to
sure.
it. You're like, oh, well, that card's not technically in the set, but here it is being played in this game. Like Helm of the Host. I got Helmed of the Host, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, what?
You're like, what a flashback.
What a flashback to a terrible time I'm now having or whatever. But I do think that is neat to be able to play with older cards that have been peppered throughout this set. Looking back on this year too, compared to like even when we first started playing Magic, looking at these main sets that we had, they're so distinct in their identity. I think that's a huge win overall for Magic, because back in the day things could feel a little samey.
They could blur together a little bit for sure.
So I love the distinct identities these main sets had for us this year.
Yeah.
So overall, I would say I really, really love the design and the thought and the world building that went into these sets, but only one really stood out as a hit.
As a real banger.
Kamigawa.
So looking forward, Maria, next year we have Phyrexia All Will Be One.
Yep.
March of the Machine Aftermath, Wilds of Eldraine, Universes Beyond Lord of the Rings.
Oh my gosh.
And The Last Caverns of Ixalan.
Okay.
What are you most looking forward to?
Wow, hard question, because March of the Machine and March of the Machine Aftermath, that little baby, whatever that is, I mean, that's going to be the culmination of a huge end to a storyline happening in Magic. Mark Rosewater, even just the other day, was like, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And it's going to change not only the story of Magic, but how Magic is played. That's what he said.
Wow.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
I am very interested to find out.
Yeah.
Super curious. But I think if you're like making me answer this question, the answer is probably the Universes Beyond Lord of the Rings.
It's going to be pretty cool.
I'm very excited for that.
Full and it's draftable set.
So I'm really pumped.
Yeah.
And I think they said that it was going to be on Arena somehow too.
Ooh.
Am I wrong about that?
I don't remember.
I think it is.
Yeah.
But that makes me really excited. So yeah, Lord of the Rings.
Nice.
Big fan. What are you most excited for?
I think Phyrexia All Will Be One.
Oh my gosh.
I'm ready to spend time on the spooky plane.
What set did you work on flavor text wise?
March of the Machine and March of the Machine Aftermath.
Okay. So we'll see Megan's flavor text.
Oh yeah.
For those sets. Yeah, I feel like bad things are going to happen.
Uh-oh.
That's just what I have a bad feeling about this.
I wonder why.
You know?
Yeah.
So I want to find out what's coming up. We also thinking of 2022.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Spacek lands. Just quickly, I want to mention the supplemental sets we had.
Yeah.
Commander Legends, Battle for Baldur's Gate.
Yes.
A lot of people absolutely adored that set to draft.
Yeah.
So
a lot of fun.
Double Masters 2022 came out.
Wow.
Don't
remember it.
The best selling product, like because people were according to tcgplayer.com, because people were interested in getting some of those reprints, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Unfinity, which we loved.
We got to call it out.
If you have not played Unfinity, buy a box, hang out with some friends over the holidays,
have
over
a good
break.
Time.
Just have a good time. It's so much fun. It is a really fun set to draft. just go do it.
It's a good time.
It is a very good time. And those space lands are incredible.
And that new foiling technique.
The galaxy foils.
The galaxy foils.
So cool.
And now we're seeing a new foiling technique come out with Phyrexia All Will Be One too.
That same kind of thing.
With those Phyrexian mana symbol foils. So
very cool.
I'm excited for the future as far as that's concerned.
Yeah.
Shiny things. And then Universes Beyond Warhammer 40K.
We learned all about Warhammer this year.
Yeah, we did.
This was the year we learned about Warhammer.
I know. And
did you know what? It was pretty cool. I enjoyed it.
Pretty BA.
Yeah.
And I'm getting some of these commander decks, so I'm going to play and find out what that experience is going to be like.
All right, Maria, you're going to have to come back and tell us how you feel about them.
I will. So some cool supplemental sets too. Yeah. And about 10 million secret layers.
10 million.
10 billion million.
10 billion. 20 billion secret layers.
And the thing we talked about is one of the big things we're looking back on, the return to paper play.
Oh my goodness.
In-person play.
What a good time. I can't wait for the next one. What a thing to go and see people.
I know, right? I mean, also we got this year the new competitive organized play structure.
Yes. Which
we had been waiting
people haven't really complained about, which is unbelievable,
miracle. Truly unbelievable,
an absolute holiday miracle. Yep. The gift that continues giving people's lack of complaints about the new organized play system.
I mean, pretty shocking. Like when we were trapped in the world of not knowing what was going to happen, and we were trapped from this arena system that was pretty universally reviled.
Yes.
And we're going to transition out of that, which after it was a huge transition into it, huge transition out. We didn't know what was going to happen. Boom, we get this new organized play system. Boom, we're going back to paper magic. Boom, in-person play.
Yeah.
That is a lot to happen in a year.
So much.
And we've had one event in person, the World Championship in Vegas.
Very cool.
It was an amazing time. Now, coming up next year, we've got those big paper pro tours coming back.
So exciting.
Do you remember working at paper pro tours?
No. I don't.
It was so exciting and fun and great to see people playing paper in person, but also broadcasting that show came with its own very big difficulties because of playing in paper. So now I'm we've got the first one coming up in Philadelphia in February.
And that's going to be a thing again. And people are going to be complaining about the glare on card sleeves.
The glare is coming back. There's going to be more time at the news desk where we're sitting around and being well, let me ask you one more question, because those players out there are still taking a bathroom break.
Taking forever. There's taking a full lifetime.
Still has 25 minutes to go. So here we are killing time.
That's a thing.
And that's going to be back. And people are show me more magic. And we're well, we would if we could.
We literally can. There's not any happening.
Because nobody's playing. So all those things are going to come in 2023.
So exciting. Legitimately.
What a big year 2022 really did turn out to be, honestly.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder what we'll be saying this time next year.
I know. You'll just have to come back and find out.
You'll just have to find out.
Well, to celebrate 2022, we brought in Judge Rob here, everybody.
Yay.
Hi, Rob.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Doing pretty well. It's snowing outside. It's very pretty, but that means I'm going to have to clean my driveway again for the fourth time this week.
Again.
Yes. Does it ever just get over itself?
No, never stops. Can't stop, won't stop.
Notoriously full of itself. Never over itself.
Never over itself.
And this is our year in review episode. So we thought it'd be fun to bring Rob on to talk about the top 5 most confusing cards of 2022.
Yes. I talked with a number of judges, and these cards range from confusing to players with a bunch of questions, confusing to judges where they all got it wrong when I asked, and one group of cards that is so confusing that I don't think anybody plays them.
Wow. Great. That's a heck of a list there, Rob. This segment with Judge Rob is brought to you proudly by Magic Kids.
Yes.
Magic Kids. So what's going on with Magic Kids right now, Rob?
Magic Kids is doing end of year stuff. We are still shipping out a lot of things. Card Kingdom's shipping 30 kits a week for us.
Wow.
We think that we've shipped enough kits to serve 40,000 kids this year.
That's amazing.
That's
the last
incredible.
number that I got. Yeah. And we're going to be at all the big shows next year. If you're at a MagicCon, there'll be a Magic Kids booth. If you're at San Diego for the regional championships, there'll be a Magic Kids booth So stop by, say hi. You probably already know how to play Magic, but you can see other people learn how to play Magic. At San Diego, we're going to be packed again.
And you can meet the Judge Rob.
You can meet the Judge Rob.
The Judge Rob.
I'll be at the Magic Kids booth at San Diego. If you want to meet me at any of the Magic cons, I'll probably be on stage actually doing stuff with pastimes. So,
well,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, Magic Kids, remember, if you are a teacher or if you know a teacher, they don't even have to know how to play Magic.
Yeah.
No.
That teacher can get in touch with Magic Kids and get a kit to teach kids Magic.
Yep. It's like a whole banker's box full of cards, like 5,000 commons and uncommons, a bunch of basic lands, all the stuff that you need to run a Magic club at a school, a library. I was talking to somebody at a juvenile detention center that had gotten a kit recently.
Wonderful.
Like, there's just a lot of, if you want to build out some magic in kids' lives, come talk to us. It's free.
Yeah, very cool.
That's a great organization. So thank you to Magic Kids for partnering with us for this segment. Now, the most confusing cards of 2022. Judge Rob, drumroll, please.
So I've an honorable mention first.
All right, honorable mention.
We didn't do one of these last year. So I have a card from last year, but it's like it was released 25 days before the end of the year. So it kind of rounds up into 2022.
Sure.
Grizzled Huntmaster is a card that is from the Crimson Vow Alchemy set. Green 1 for a 4/3 creature human warrior. When Grizzled Huntmaster enters the battlefield, you may exile a creature card from your hand. If you do, search your hand and library for any number of cards with the same name, exile them, then shuffle. Choose a creature card you own from outside the game. Conjure a duplicate of that card into your hand for each card exiled from your hand this way.
What?
Let me tell you.
I don't know anybody that got this right the first time they read it.
No.
So what it's trying to do is like you get to like change out cards in your hand for cards in your sideboard, but if the card in your hand wasn't very good, you also get to remove bonus copies from your library. But the phrasing is really weird for some reason. Like, I don't know what, like, and so it's unclear. People are like, oh, I get to, like, if I have one Dark Confidant in my hand, I can search for 4 of them and put 4 of them in my hand. And it's no, that the 3 Dark Confidants in your library aren't in your hand. You don't get copies of them. And
it's a whole thing.
Like the first time someone cast this card against me on Arena, I let it resolve because I read it and I was like, this will be, I didn't understand what was happening. I thought it would be fine. Spoiler alert, it was not.
Yeah, well, they get to tutor. They get to
fine.
tutor, basically. And they can do this repeatedly. The one thing that Grizzled Huntmaster does is because it conjures, if they have a bomb card in their sideboard, they can repeatedly tutor for that bomb card by pitching trash.
Woof.
Which, if they flicker it or bounce it or whatever. So it's unclear what this card does. It does it in a very strange way.
Yes.
And it released, like, you technically could have played this in 2021, but like in reality, it only had 25 days of legality.
We're rounding up here.
Yeah, we're rounding up. And it's the honorable mention. It's not part of this year's release of cards.
All right, so let's start things off with most confusing cards. Number 5. Queen Kayla bin Krug.
She is from Brothers War. She is a white red 1 for a 2/3 legendary creature human noble. 4 tap. Discard all the cards in your hand, then draw that many cards. That's easy.
Yeah, got it. With you so far.
Yeah, you may choose an artifact or creature card with mana value 1 that you discarded this way. Then do the same for an artifact or creature cards with mana values 2 and 3. Return those cards to the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery.
Can I tell you something? I drafted this card recently, and I specifically did not activate it the first time because I was like, I don't know if it's going to do what I think it is.
Yep, sounds about right.
I put it in my deck. I could have activated it, and I specifically didn't because I was very scared that I was really going to screw myself.
And I glossed over this in the set review because I read it. I was like, oh, this is straightforward. Like I was able to kind of figure out what it's doing. But then I look at it again and I'm like, well, this is some strange, like, especially the artifact or creature cards with mana values 2 or 3 is like, that's an unusual phrasing. It would usually be and or.
Yeah.
The repeat this again is always an instruction that just gets everybody.
Yeah.
They're like, what am I actually repeating here? Am I discarding my whole hand again? Like, so.
Yeah.
Kayla's gotten a lot of questions and people are really unclear. What it does is you pitch your whole hand and then you get to return a 1 if you have it, a 2 if you have it, and a 3 if you have it from your graveyard to the battlefield out of the cards you discarded, is what it wants to do. And you could phrase that pretty clearly here, but then the templating gets very maze-like.
I did
during this.
activate it for all of you wondering, and it was quite good when I did.
Yeah, no, she's
obviously.
Very powerful.
That's the other half, is that if cards are confusing and bad, nobody plays them.
Yeah.
If they're confusing and powerful, they play them and don't know what they do.
Yep. Raise his hand. Coming in at number 4.
Sarah Paragon. Sarah Paragon is white 2 for a 3/4 creature angel with flying, and once during each of your turns, you may play a land from your graveyard or cast a permanent spell with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard. If you do, it gains. When this permanent is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, exile it and you gain 2 life.
All right.
So, like, this is a little weird in that it, like, gives an ability to a thing after you do something with it, and then that ability sticks around and it permanently has this text. That wasn't the problem that most people had with it. Like, actually understanding this card wasn't that hard. The problem was that the rules manager missed that the comp rules didn't support this card when it was printed.
Oh, really?
Yep. So the way that things work is when an object moves zones, it forgets everything about the past. Right?
Same.
Yeah.
Well, just like if a creature dies,
You walk into one room.
Yeah. If you flicker a creature with Flicker Wisp and you had it went to exile, then it came back to the battlefield. It's totally new. It doesn't remember its counters. If it had a permanent ability staple to it, like gains haste forever from something like this, those go away. Right? It's a new it's a new card.
Thing.
And so what you do with a spell is you move it from the graveyard to the stack to cast it for Sarah Paragon, or you move it from wherever it is to the stack, and then it moves to the battlefield. And so it should forget about its previous existence. And then there's exceptions where it'll remember sometimes if, like, an activated ability gave it ability or a triggered ability gave it an ability. This is a static ability of Sarah Paragon, and there wasn't an exception. So this ability, it would go to the stack, it would gain that ability in the stack, then it would enter the battlefield, and by the way the rules were written, it would lose that ability, even though it's super obvious what should happen.
What you wanted to do is to have that ability on the battlefield.
Right, and so it's super obvious. Arena worked the way that the card, like, looks like it works, and so did Magic Online. So, like, I had people come to me at tournaments, they're like, I heard this card doesn't work, and I'm like, look, here's the deal. The CR is going to be updated in like a week for the next set because they come out every week. So give me a week here. The comp rules are going to change. They needed to add, like, or static ability to 2 spots in the comp rules. So it was like a 6-word change to the comp rules. But the card didn't work, and people were confused as to why, because that losing abilities thing is one of those, things get wiped by Flicker Wisp. Well, why do other things keep abilities when they move zones? There's got to be an exception somewhere. Yep. Exception didn't cover this.
Great.
I love it. All right, coming in at number 3.
Number 3 is a whole group of cards. I picked one example, but this is all of the cards with the specialize mechanic.
Specialize.
what
a mechanic.
Specialize is... So, in a nutshell, Specialize adds 5 additional faces to these cards. They have 1 front and 5 backs.
Yep.
And so we're going to look at Lucamina Moondruid because she's, I would argue, the dumbest because she specializes again and again. But so she's green and 2 for a 2/2 legendary creature human druid, wild shape, specialize 3. So you pay 3 mana, you discard a card, and then she will change based on what what color of card you discarded. She will turn into a different back depending on the color that you discarded for her. She also says activate this ability only if you control 6 or more lands. When Lucamina Moondruid enters the battlefield, if you cast it, seek a land card with a basic land type.
Oh, good grief.
And also this has the seek mechanic, which I don't like very much, but which, like, is search without shuffle.
Yeah.
All of her specialized back faces have a set of abilities. So, like, if you discarded a red card, you'd get Lucamina Wolf Form, which is it changes the mana value of this card, so it's now green-red 2 for a 4/4 legendary creature wolf druid with Menace. And whenever this creature specializes or attacks, create a 2/2 green wolf creature token. When Lucamina dies, it unspecializes.
What?
If it unspecializes this way, return it to the battlefield tapped.
Yep. And so what Specialized normally does is it permanently changes the card. Except in Lucamina's case, when she dies, it goes to the graveyard.
Hey, turn her back around.
And then it turns back to its front face and then comes back.
I have never seen this card. I am shocked right now. I'm shook.
This card is wild because every back face has this, where it unspecializes when it dies.
No.
Yes. Every one of the 5 faces dies to unspecialize. I'm not going to read the other 4 because we don't want to be here for another 10 minutes.
Oh my God.
But, like, This one like makes tokens when it specializes or when it attacks. It has menace. This back is moderately complicated for a transform card already. And then it'll go back to the front face repeatedly. And then you get to discard a green card to turn into a bear. You get to discard a white card to turn into an eagle. And so these cards are wild. And as far as I know, they're really not played that much on Arena.
Yeah. I've had this one played against me a little bit, but not often.
Yeah. But the point being is that like when you search for specialize, you return 64 results in Scryfall. That's not all the specialized faces, because there's a couple of specialized cards where the back doesn't say anything about specialization. They just turn into something with a bunch of text.
Yeah.
And so there's just a humongous amount of I don't know what, like a dozen of these things, and they're all 5-faced cards or 6-faced cards like on the surfaces of a cube. I don't understand.
When this came out, and also when they're played against me, you just don't want to read it. You're just like, whatever, dude. Just do whatever you're going to do.
You want to like do the 2-click on it and look at all of the faces.
Yeah.
Just be like, yep.
Yeah, you're like, all right, I can't anticipate what this card is going to do. Like, I can't guess. What's your second color? Because
yeah. Let's go for it.
Yep.
Specialize. Well, that has got to be the
whole
mechanic that's ever existed.
And I can understand why you would want to do it digitally, because you can't do this in paper.
Right, of course.
But what this also does is it means, so like I've got a friend who is on the Gladiator rules committee. Gladiator is like a 1v1 competitive format that's based on historic. And he's like, I don't know if we could technically do paper tournaments for Gladiator, except for all these stupid
cards that just would not
that don't work in paper.
Function.
And I'm like, yep. So it makes it hard for their format to grow wider than just Arena.
Wow. Specialized.
Yeah. Number 2 is Triumph of St. Catherine. So Triumph of St. Catherine is from the Warhammer 40k decks.
Yeah.
It's white and 4 for a 5/5 creature human warrior, lifelink. It has an ability word, Presidium Protectiva. When Triumph of St. Catherine dies, exile it and the top 6 cards of your library in a face-down pile. If you do, shuffle that pile and put it back on top of your library. She also has Miracle for white and 1. So if you draw this card, you can reveal it and pay its miracle cost to cast it and so the question that I get people with, so this gives you an instruction that seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like shuffle this into the top 6 cards of your library. And it only works if you have at least 6 cards in your library. That's the if you do. Or if you have a token copy that you can't exile, it doesn't do this.
I see. So you're putting it back so you can try to miracle it.
Yes, exactly. And that's anytime it dies, you get to try to miracle it. This is super clear to explain. Now, I have a question for you.
Oh boy!
What happens if my opponent control magics, so they have control of my Triumph of St. Catherine, and it dies under their control? Who does this triggered ability?
I would.
Because it doesn't say.
It says your library.
It says your library.
Your library.
And the person who controls something when it dies gets the trigger from a death trigger, right?
Yes. So you would think it was your opponent if they took it from you.
Yep. So they get this trigger and they follow these instructions. They exile that card in the top 6 cards of their library in a face down pile. And then they did that. So then they shuffle that pile and they try to put it back on top of their library.
But they can't?
Well, so what happens is, and this is where I was at a conference yesterday, and I asked about this interaction, and the general consensus, the people who had seen this were like, oh, I get it. And the people who haven't seen it are like, well, you made this up.
What happened?
What happens?
Does it fly back into my library?
Yeah, it flies back into your library. So what happens is it dies under their control. They shuffle it in the top 5 cards of their library, put the top 5 on top of their library, and it's a Triumph on top of your library. Because if something tries to put a card that you own into their library, it goes to your library instead.
Yeah, that's right. Because that would be too messed up. Because
they can't put cards they don't own into their library.
So what happens? So it goes back to the top
of your library. It's actually really good for you if they control magic. Yeah. They shuffle the top 5 cards of their library and then put this on top of yours.
And then put this on top of yours. They're like, here you go. Happy birthday.
But it's not obvious because it gives you were trying to figure out. Wait, this gives all the instructions to the player who controls the Triumph.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so you can this is a question that you can get a judge with. They'll just what?
Yeah.
I just love that it flies back to your life. It's just I'm sorry, I don't belong here.
You know what?
Yes.
This isn't my spot.
Yeah. Then I miracle it. Boom.
I hope you all had a nice shuffle.
Yeah.
I hope you had a good time.
The top 6 had a great shuffle.
Yep.
Wow, that's so
That's
weird.
really weird.
That's very strange. And because the instruction would have to take like an extra 2 lines of text. And this is already a pretty wordy card.
Yes.
If it would try to like actually spell out what it does.
Oh, hey, that's cool. I love that one.
So my number one.
Number one.
Is a card we talked about actually.
Oh, yes.
Legrella the Magpie. She is blue, white, green for a 2/3 legendary creature human soldier. She is an uncommon for some inexplicable reason.
Yeah.
When Legrella the Magpie enters the battlefield, exile any number of other target creatures controlled by different players until Legrella leaves the battlefield. When an exiled card enters the battlefield under your control this way, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. So this is a very weird clause, and again, very few people that I talked to read this correctly.
No, when I read it the first time, I assumed I could just exile my opponent's freaking battlefield.
Right, that's what. But it's exile number of other target creatures, which like when you try to parse that as any number of other target creatures controlled by different players modifies that though. So each of those creatures has to be controlled by a different player.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is so that she can do this fancy thing where you like exile one of their things and one of your things, and then when she dies, your thing comes back bigger, which is what when an exiled card enters the battlefield under your control this way, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. I don't know if she needs to do all of this, right?
I just think there's got to be a better way to say it. Maybe there's not, but
you could A, break this into 2 abilities and B, rewrite it. The thing is that she's already very wordy. And that's the trouble with a lot of these cards is when you try to like find a way to save, 5 words on a card that already has, 30.
Yeah.
And so you're like, all right, we're going to trim this to what is logically makes sense if you really, really get into the nitty gritty of figuring out the English language.
Yeah.
And the reason that this is number 1 for me is because this is very good. This is a Banisher Priest,
yes,
right?
this is an excellent card.
This is a very powerful card. It's an uncommon in Streets of New Capenna, which was the limited format for months.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? And the Streets of New Capenna is an okay limited format. Like it's not the worst limited format in recent memory, right? But it's also like you would run into Legrella all the time, and if you hadn't internalized exactly how she worked, or if you were like a little nervous about it and you didn't want to cast her, or you cast her and then you're like, I want to file a bug report. She didn't exile my opponent's whole board, and you're like, well,
I'm trying to think like how could you do it? Like, for each player, you may exile up to 1 creature that they control.
Yeah,
like,
when Legrella the Magpie enters the battlefield, choose a target creature, up to 1 target creature controlled by each player.
Yeah, that makes more sense to me.
Yeah.
And when this card debuted, I remember it caused a huge stir on the internet and people were posting it and being like, wait a second, how does this card work?
Yeah.
What does this do?
Yep.
It was a whole thing.
Grizzled Huntmaster was the same way, but I think this is worse because it was in a normal Magic set as an uncommon.
And people played this card all the time. It should have been a rare.
Yeah, this mechanic should have been switched up. Yeah, it's powerful enough to be a rare. There's no reason
and complicated enough to be a rare.
Complicated enough to be a rare. So you'd see this all the time. Every time you'd have to stop and like take stock and be like, what does this card do?
Yeah.
And it's usually a sign that something is too complicated to be an uncommon in my opinion. And so this got bumped up just because you would encounter this so much where you might never run into like Triumph of St. Catherine. If you never played with the Warhammer decks, you would never see that card, right?
Oh, great.
But yeah.
This is a fantastic list, Rob.
Thank you so much.
It's a list of cards that make you unhappy to read.
The 5 most complicated cards of the year, everybody.
Oh, Judge Rob, thank you so much for bringing us this delightful list.
You're welcome.
Yes. Thank you so much to Magic Kids for partnering with us for this segment.
Yes. If you want to start a Magic Club in your area, where do they head?
Magickids.org.
Yeah.
MAGIKIDS.org.
Head over there. They'll get you all the stuff you need. Or go and visit Magic Kids if you're at a Magic Con coming up.
Yep.
Yeah.
What was the other one you're going to be at?
San Diego. At the regional championships.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be at the DreamHack there, which DreamHack was a blast. And so come swing by. If you qualified, say hi.
Meet the Judge Rob.
Yeah. I'll probably be busy teaching kids how to play Magic, but
cool.
I'll still say hi.
All right, everybody. It's time to tell you about our sponsor, Ultra Pro.
Yeah, there's tons of great sales happening right now on ultrapro.com.
Yes.
So if you want to get in on any of them, like we could mention a lot, but there's new ones every day.
Literally new sales every day. But we wanted to tell you, if you're trying to get a gift for a Magic player and you're like, they already have everything, do you know what they probably don't have? a land station. Everyone loves having their nice little basic land station to organize all their little lands.
Yes.
Go and get them this land station from Ultra Pro.
Yeah, you can buy one right now for $55 and you use the code GLHF at checkout to get an additional 5% off that. I have a land station at my house, and I'm telling you, it's like one of the centerpieces of conversation whenever even non-Magic players come over. They're like, "Oh, look
what
at
is
that.
This?
That's so cool."
Oh,
land station.
How about that?
And it's so useful. Do you have drafts with your friends?
Land station.
Land station.
Do you just have lands that you need for decks?
Land
station. Get yourself a land station where all Magic players, we all use lands. Get yourself a land station.
That is true. There is one.
We all knew. We all need lands unless you play that one kind of deck that doesn't use any. But outside of that, we all use lands.
There's like not a lot of things you can collectively say that are true about all Magic players.
But this is one of them.
But we all need lands.
Need lands.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool gift idea.
Yeah.
They got playmats. They got wall scrolls. They've got all sorts of, we talked about the Vivid dice last week.
Yeah.
They've got dice holders that are really cool. They've got notebooks. Anything you need for the nerd in your life.
Everything you need.
ultrapro.com. Use code GLHF. Save yourself some money. Well, everybody, thank you for coming along with us on our year in review here for 2022.
Yes. If you are like, wow, you didn't give out enough awards this episode, that's because we are giving out all of the awards for 2022 in next week's episodes, the Crimbies.
The Crimbies. Don't miss it. We've got some great awards, including some new awards this year.
Some new awards, some returning favorite awards. It's our way to celebrate the year, to talk about some of the things this year that people are like, why did that have to happen? A little bit of both.
Yeah, we got everything for you on the Crimbies next episode. Huge thank you to Judge Rob for coming on and giving us his most confusing cards of 2022.
Yes.
Always a delight to have Rob on the show.
Yeah.
Thank you to Card Kingdom and thank you to Ultra Pro for being our amazing sponsors. But most importantly, thank you to our best sponsors, you.
Thank you once again to Elspeth, Zach, William, Brent, Shane. Thank you to each and every one of you for becoming a new patron or increasing your pledge.
You've got until the end of the month to become a new patron at $10 a month or more. Increase your pledge by $5 a month or $60 a year if you're a yearly patron to get access to our Boggle Cruise playmat.
Gorgeous.
Patreon.com
one of a kind.
/GLHF
Shalt
Magic.
never be made again.
Shalt one time and one time only. We'll throw in some extra stuff in your package too because we want to say thank you so much
good time.
To our new patron friends.
Yes.
Ooh,
yeah.
All right, time to go dust off the trophies because we got a lot of Crimbies to hand out.
Yeah, we do.
Got a lot of envelopes of stuff with the winners' names. It's like the Oscars.
It is.
But better.
But a bigger production budget.
Bigger budget, longer red carpet, shinier trophies, and the goodie bags we give every nominee.
So cool.
Each worth at least $500.
Yes. Absolutely.